Hey guys, Coach Sahil here from tumblingcoach.com. As you can see, I'm here at my gym cheer corps out here in Canada. And today we're going to be talking about some effective tips on how to become a better tumbling coach. This is for those of you who are already tumbling coaches, those of you who are looking to become a tumbling coach, you're trying to get into it, or if you're an athlete and you're thinking, hey, you know what? One day I might want to coach this stuff. So if that's you, you're going to enjoy this video. Okay, so the first tip that I have for you is to treat coaching as if it's a skill itself. A lot of times when I used to travel for clinics before the world got shut down, whether it's coaches that were experienced and had years and years of coaching tumbling, or there were new coaches, one of the things that I saw was that coaches wanted to be good at coaching too quickly and too fast at certain things. Now, some coaches are going to be better at coaching certain skills, other coaches are going to be better at coaching other skills. It doesn't really matter, but you need to take the mentality of coaching as a skill. What that means is that it's okay to make some small mistakes, it's okay to learn from it, just like you wouldn't expect an athlete to get, for example, a back tuck, back handspring, or any other tumbling skill in a day. You can't expect yourself to become a great coach just overnight. Now, obviously learning, watching videos like this, reading articles is definitely going to help you. But as we all know, the way to really get good at something is to actually apply it, right? So if you treat coaching as a skill, you're gonna do a couple things. Number one, you're gonna start recording videos, right? Of yourself either coaching, somebody does it for you, or you're gonna record certain things that you're doing, and then you can watch that back, right? And then get better and fix a couple things, right? Just like you would with your skill. So if you're in a lucky position to be an athlete and a coach, then you've obviously, and I hope you have, filmed yourself doing certain tumbling skills and then watched it back. Okay, here's what I can fix. I need to keep my chin in. Same thing with coaching. You set up a station or a circuit, you go through it, and then you make notes. Okay, did it flow properly? What was going on? Did the athletes have fun? Did they make progress? Were the drills too easy or too hard, right? Or maybe they're not appropriate. Those are all valid questions. So again, you gotta treat it as a skill, which means you're gonna get better every time you do it. Just think of getting better 1% at a time, okay? So that's one of the biggest tips that I have for you. Let's move on to the next one. All right, so my next tip for you, by the way, none of these tips are in any particular or specific order. I just kind of reeling off the top of my head. I also have an article on my website with a similar topic called 11 tips. I'm going to try and share some tips that are on that article, but also some new ones. So if you're looking for a complete list, or if you're in a hurry and you want to read it later, just check out the link below, or check out the description of this video and you'll see the link to go read that article. All right, so let's move on to the tip. The next tip is to learn basic psychology. Okay, now it's out of the scope of this video to discuss all the psychological topics that go into becoming a great coach. But some of the things that I recommend is reading a book like Mind Gym. A good friend of mine, Jeff Benson, has some really good material on his. I'll link his Instagram at the bottom. But basically what it means is, as a coach, you need to know how the mind works so that your athletes can actually respond to the corrections that you're giving them, right? Imagine as a coach knowing everything to know about coaching and skills, but if you give a correction and nobody responds to it, or none of your athletes respect you and things like that, right? That's important. So a couple other basics you need to know as a coach is explaining things in a way that people can understand in different ways, right? So the fact that you're watching this video may mean that you are a visual learner, right? Or maybe you have the video playing, but you're reading something, or cleaning the house or doing something, and you're more of an audio person, right? That's why podcasts are very popular. So you got to understand that everybody learns their own different way. So when you're explaining a drill or a skill, you may want to have a demo, like a live visual demo. You may want to explain it, and then you may want to get them to kind of try it out and feel it and spot it. So there's a bunch of different ways. So that's something as a coach you should know. I'll give you a quick example of a specific technique where psychology plays a good role. So one of the things I tell my younger coaches is when you're coaching kids, you can't just give a correction, right? Because they're not, their minds are racing. So I gave them a little system called AIA. It's a little acronym, right? What that stands for is attention, interest, action. So for example, let's say I have a group of kids and I'm coaching a class and I want to, explain something to them. Let's say they're doing their thing. So the first A is attention. The first thing you gotta do is get their attention, right? Because if you don't have their attention, it doesn't matter if you're trying to help them, they're not gonna listen, right? And they're just kids. So the way you get the attention is plenty of different ways. You can do a little clap, be like, hey everybody, give me a clap. Another good one is, hey everybody, put your hands on your heads, and then all the kids put their hands on their head. So as soon as they do that, you've got their attention, and now you can move on to things that matter. So AIA, the next letter I is interest. So you want to get them interested in what you're saying in some way or another, right? So it could be something like, hey everybody, put your hands on your head. You got their attention. Now you get them interested. Say, hey, I got a really cool correction I want to share with you guys. If you guys do this, your tumbling skills are going to look way better and we're going to score high at competition. Boom, right there, I know I've got their interest because, who doesn't want to tumble with really good technique and score really well at competitions, right? There's plenty of ways to get interest. You might want to write yours down. But once you have them interested, then you can give them an action to take, right? So as an example, be like, okay guys, and the action could be, I want everybody to come up to this station here. I want everybody to put this foam block between your feet and then do your back handspring. Boom, okay? This is way better than just saying, hey everybody, go to this drill and do it. I mean, it may work, and it works better for older athletes who are already bought in and understand the system and understand why you're trying to help them. But for the little kids, AIA works really, really well. So that's just one thing that I came up with based on psychology, because I know that you need attention and interest. There's plenty of other things that you can do, but like I said, I recommend just checking out a couple books and just understanding basic psychology. Okay, so the next tip that I have for you guys is called learn the feel. Now, what does that mean, learn the feel? It means as a tumbling coach, you should know where certain engagement of the muscles should happen so you can get the result you want, right? As an example, take the basic shape, a hollow position, right? You need to feel what it should feel like, because coaches who know what certain things should feel like can actually convey it better to their own athletes. Now, an extreme example of this, or the best example of this, is if you're somebody who's a tumbling coach and you know how to tumble, you already have a leg up and you already have an advantage over coaches who don't. Now, that doesn't mean if you're a coach who's never tumbled, or let's say you're in your 30s and 40s and you're just starting and you're like, I don't have time to learn a back handspring, totally fine. It doesn't mean you're not going to be a great coach. But I have to say, as somebody who's did gymnastics and power tumbling and now coaches tumbling, there is a distinct advantage that I have over those who have not done the skills themselves. And what I mean by that is, I know what it's like, I know what it feels like to do a back handspring, a round off, handspring, tucks, layouts, fulls, doubles, double tucks, all that kind of stuff. And what that helps me do is when I'm explaining something to an athlete, I know there's certain things that I felt when I was doing the skill, and I know what felt wrong and what felt right? So as a simple example, I know when I'm setting for a skill, like a running tumbling skill, like a random handspring tuck, I know that when I feel a stretch in my armpits and it feels like somebody's pulling my arms back, I know that I probably had a pretty good set, right? So I can say like, hey, when you come out the handspring, and I can take your arms and kind of pull, be like, does it feel like somebody's really pulling your arms back? Yeah, okay, good. That you should feel that in your pass, okay? And there's plenty of these examples. I'm even better at it like in the moment, but there's like tons that you can come up with. And the way to get that is either to practice the feel or learn the skill yourself. So if you're a tumbling coach that hasn't tumbled before or anything like that, my suggestion is to go through some of the drills and just the basic parts and go through the feeling and film yourself. So as an example, let's say you have a drill where you want the athlete's toes to come up for some, for whatever skill, right? Well, go onto a resi pit and then, jump back and lift your toes and just understand what that feels like. Do it correctly and do it incorrectly, right? And film yourself and understand what those feelings are. Because at the end of the day, one of the key things is you have to remember, an athlete cannot fix what they cannot feel. So if they can't feel something, they're not gonna fix it. Example, how many times have you told somebody to squeeze their legs in a back handspring and it's still handspring like this, right? Prime example of an athlete that they can't fix it because they can't feel it, right? So if a coach understands the feel of something, they'll be able to convey it to the athlete, and there's a higher chance of that correction taking place, or there's a higher chance of you coming up with a certain drill that'll help them feel it better. So again, you don't have to get complicated with it. If you are an athlete, I say do every single drill. Like when I was coming up as a tumbling coach, and even now still, a little bit less because I'm a little bit older, but pretty much every drill of mine that you see or have seen, I've done it personally myself. I've tested it out. I used to spend hours in the gym just, like this, when it's empty, no one's here, or at the end of the day, just set up certain drills for certain skills. For example, let's say I had a really tough time with an athlete and I couldn't get them to fix their back tuck for whatever reason. And let's say their set was low. I would set up a couple things and then do it myself, right? So I can feel what that drill feels like. I'm like, is this accurate? Certain drills I had to scrap because when I tried it and filmed it, I was like, yeah, you know what? This doesn't work, at least not for me. So that really, really helped me come up with drills and explain it better to athletes. Again, if you can't do it yourself, just kind of feel the basic shapes of it. Just feel something, just go around and walk around and understand what your athletes are going through. It'll also give you a little bit of empathy, which is important. So learn the feel. It'll separate you from the other coaches. Okay, so the next tip that I have for you is probably one of the most important tips, and that is model other more experienced coaches, okay? Now there's plenty of ways to do this, okay? We'll talk about two of them, okay? The first way to model is to just observe, right? Using visuals and obviously audio. Couple ways you can do this. Obviously at your gym is probably the best way to do it. If you're at a gym and you have a bunch of coaches, find ones that are more experienced than you are, or coaching skills that you want to coach, or just, have more experience, and just say, hey, one day, can I, when you're coaching a level 5 class, if you're in cheer, or if you're in gymnastics and power tumbling, if they're coaching advanced tumbling, just be like, hey, can I just watch what you do? I won't get in the way. I just want to take notes. Obviously take permission. And I don't see why most coaches would have a problem with that. I know personally I wouldn't. But again, ask for permission. And if you do get the permission, take full advantage. Write down, bring a piece of paper with you or a book and take notes. Don't just watch. Because then from there you can put your own spin on it, right? So if a coach is doing a drill, you can draw it out. If they're doing something where you're like, I would do something different, just write it down. It's okay. So that's one way. The next way, which is even better, is to become a helper. Okay. This is, I was able to do this. This is one of the best things that you can do. So again, reach out to any coach. Camp Woodward, by the way, I can't give them enough credit. They're awesome for this, where if you go to Camp Woodward as a coach, they really help coaches develop. So they'll give you clinics and things like that, and they allow you to, watch other coaches, coach live, right? And again, you got to do it with permission, but let's stick to your own gym or any other gym. So becoming a helper is like a hands-on experience that you just can't beat. The only other way to do that is to attend coaching clinics where they allow you to be hands-on. And if you're interested in that, you can reach out to me. But basically, just help coaches like run circuits and do whatever they need you to do. If they want you to kind of stand at one station in a spot, and do that, and kind of watch how they're running their classes. Okay, that hands-on experience will kind of level you up faster than anything else. And the other thing you want to do is you want to do this on your own time, right? This is something that I believe in. I believe that you got to put in the hours initially to level up yourself. So one of the things I did was I just became a helper to people, and I just did it on my own time because I had time. So if you're somebody who has time, please do it. Right now I'm a gym owner myself, so I don't have as much time, but I still try and make the time to observe other coaches as best as I can. And if I am in a position to help and become a helper, I would totally do it even to this day. So that's one of the most powerful tips I have for you. Don't be afraid to reach out to people and see if you can become a helper, and just be honest. Be like, hey, I want to become a good coach. I want to know what you know. I would love to learn and become a helper. Do what it takes. 1 year of apprenticeship, and that's why we have apprenticeships in most skill trades, as you guys probably know. Like to become a plumber, electrician, they do that, right? They have their official way of doing it. We don't have an industry standard apprenticeship right now. I can't say that word for whatever reason, but you guys know what I mean, right? 1 year of that will change your life basically as a tumbling coach. There's nothing else that I know of that can get you to level up that fast, that quickly. So I hope that tip helps, and I hope you're able to model a coach that inspires you. All right, so the final tip that I have for you is to make sure that you have a foundational level of knowledge and information memorized and banked up in the head. And the reason for this is that, when you're coaching, you don't have time to Google and look things up, right? It's got to be in the moment, right? So it's one thing. I've met a lot of coaches and younger coaches who obviously will get better, but on paper they're very good. So they'll come up with a lot of drills. They'll know the right answers to give me and things like that. But then when they're actually coaching, They can't translate their knowledge and information into practice, right? But that is already a good step to have. So if you're somebody like that, don't worry. That just comes to that first tip I gave you. It just takes a little bit of practice. Treat it like a skill. But if you don't have that knowledge to begin with, right, there's no hope of you ever being able to apply it in real life. So make sure your foundational level of knowledge is solid. Now, what should you have as a foundational level of knowledge? Now, the easiest way to do this, I'm a little bit biased, but if you go to tumblingcoach.com and if you just read every article on that site, I guarantee you'll have a foundational level of knowledge for you as a tumbling coach. And even if you're experienced, you probably will find a couple golden nuggets that will help you. But if you're just getting started, a couple things you should know. Number one, and there's no particular order, but you should know 3 to 5 drills for every skill. And when I say drills, I mean like drills that are bread and butter, that work for everybody, that are like crucial to making sure that skill happens. So just memorize that and keep it in your memory bank. So, you know, for round off, for handspring, for back walkovers, front tuck, back tuck, for all those skills that are worked quite often, have 3 to 5 drills that you always go to that work really well for a wide variety of athletes, right? Now, if there's specific problems that you have to fix, then you can come up with a more complex drill. But right now, like if you were to say, hey, set up a back handspring circuit, easy, no problem. I can do it in the next 2 minutes because I know there's certain drills that I'm going to have for sure, and then I'll change it, right? So that's one. Next thing you should know is have a general understanding of physics. Now, I don't mean memorize formulas and get all complicated, but something like Newton's third 3 laws of motion are important to know and how they apply, right? Newton's third law states that for every action, there's equal and opposite reaction. So what that means is if I'm punching the floor, you should understand the floor is going to give the exact same amount of force back. So if an athlete is very floppy and they're very squishy and they're not tight and they're not able to apply the force into the floor, well, right away you know they're not going to go high, right? Because the floor is not going to push them back up. There's no magic, right? So things like that will help you fix problems faster than other tumbling coaches. You've got to have that base level of foundational knowledge. So you can get that from books and you can get that from plenty of other things. If you want to take it to the extreme, go take a complete biomechanics course in sports. That'll really set you up for success. But again, that could, be something that you don't have access to depending on your situation. But like I said, just foundation level of knowledge, talk to other coaches, and just kind of set certain standards for yourself where that when you're in the gym, boom, it's memorized, so it comes out right away. That's the other key information that you need to have. So I hope these tips were helpful. And if you're looking for more, again, go to the website, tumblingcoach.com at the bottom, and look for my article called 11 tips to help you become a better tumbling coach. And if you have any other tips for me, and if you want to throw yours in there, put them down in the comments below. I'd love to read what you have to offer. Let's make a community huge list and see what other tips we have for other coaches. I myself am looking forward to learning from all you guys. So thanks so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys next time.